From stories around the world to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. A pleasant evening. I'm Delanjali Ananda.
Good evening, I'm Clifford Richards. First of all, we take a look at the headlines.
Farmers in Polonnaruwa request the President not to leave room for middlemen to create a shortage of rice. The Premier states that the country will be made self-sufficient in clean drinking water. UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe states that the economy of the country will be uplifted with the signing of agreements with foreign nations. Schools reopen after 113 days tomorrow. Founder of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Basil Rajapaksa, states that his party always functions giving priority to the country. The individual in the Jintupeti area tests negative for COVID-19.
And now moving on to the stories in detail. Schools will reopen tomorrow after remaining closed for 115 days due to the spread of the coronavirus. Thereby, tomorrow, students of only grades 5, 11 and 13 needs to attend the school. The attendance of around 800,000 students of these grades are expected under the second stage of the reopening of schools, which takes effect from tomorrow. Principals, teachers, non-academic staff, members and other staff reported for duty last Monday, and during the past week, the preparation of timetables and arrangements of the premises of schools in line with health guidelines was attended to. According to the revised timetable for students of grade 11 and 13, the school time will be from 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m, whilst for grade 5 students, it will be from 7:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. The Ministry of Education cautions parents to check as to whether the students suffer from fever, cough, cold or any other symptom. The ministry advises parents to refrain from sending their children to school if they suffer from such symptoms. Heads of schools and teachers have been made aware of the necessary measures to be taken if a student displays signs of illness by first attending to the child at a sick room whilst adhering to health guidelines. Face masks are mandatory for all students, teachers, and the entire school staff entering and exiting the school premises. Teachers are required to sign in and out according to their respective working hours. State Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Ranjit Chandrasekhara, said that all students must follow the given timetable and attend all periods. He stated that with regard to principals, if they have any additional tasks, they can attend to the school matters to cover the task. However, it is not a must for them to remain in the school until 3:30 p.m. He further stated that the objective of the ministry is to complete the lost number of periods. Therefore, he requests for extracurricular activities, sporting events and also term tests not to be held. Under the third stage of the reopening of schools, grade 10 and 12 will recommence classes on the 20th of July. On the 27th of July, under the fourth stage, schools will reopen for grades 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Students of grade 1 and 2 will recommence classes on the 10th of August.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa joined in a rally organized at the Siripura Pradeshiya Sabha grounds at Polonnaruwa today. At the rally, farmers in Polonnaruwa requested President not to let middlemen create a shortage of rice. This rally was organized to ensure victory of for the candidates contesting under the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna from the Polonnaruwa district. The residents of the area also requested the President to bring before the law those responsible for the central bank bond scam. Other issues faced by the residents of the district include employment issues and human-elephant conflict. They requested the President to take steps to rectify these issues. The rally was also attended by former State Minister Roshan Ranasinghe, former Deputy Minister Siripala Gamlat and candidate Jagat Samaravikrama, who are contesting under the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. The President also joined in a rally organised in the Kalukale area along Mahiyangana Polonnaruwa Road, which was organised by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna candidate Jayasinghe Banda. The President also joined a gathering held at the Pratibha Hall at Manampitya today. The prelates of the area submitted a set of proposals to the President and chanted separate to invoke blessings. A group of teachers gathered outside the Pratibha Hall also met the President and submitted their proposals. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa joined in a rally at Athanakadavala in Polonnaruwa. Residents of the area informed the President on the shortage of teachers and other lapses in the district. The President instructed State Minister Roshan Ranasinghe to submit a full report on the issue. He advised small-scale gem miners amongst the Alahara residents to engage in their occupation without harming the environment. The rally was organised by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna candidate Amarakirti Atakorala. The President made inquiries from area residents joining in rallies organised by former State Minister Roshan Ranasinghe to Bandivava in Polonnaruwa, former Deputy Minister Siripala Gamlat at Giritale and G.G. Chandrasena at Madrigiriya. The President also joined in a rally organised in the Kaduruvela area by former Chief Minister Peshla Jayaratne today. The residents of the area requested the President to reconstruct regional tanks in the area. They also informed the President on the fertilizer issue. The President joined in a rally organised in the Thambala area. He engaged in a cordial discussion with the people gathered at the rally. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa also joined in a rally organised by former President Maithripala Sirisena opposite the Deepa Uena in Polonnaruwa. He engaged in a cordial discussion with the people gathered at the rally and inquired into their well-being.
Something that changes your life story. Litro Gas.
On with more local stories, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa states that the next objective is to make the country self-sufficient in clean drinking water. The Premier made this comment addressing a rally in Senapura area at Tissa Maharama. Well, this rally was organized to ensure victory for the candidates contesting under the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna from the Hambantota district. The rally was also attended by Minister Chamal Rajapaksa and Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Peris. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that their intention is to bring into the country industries that can generate jobs. He says that electricity can be provided to the country to a 100% capacity, and the next objective is to provide clean drinking water to all areas of the country through pipe-borne water. The Premier states that currently pipe-borne water extends to 40 to 50%. Therefore, the Premier states that measures are underway to uplift the network to cover 100%. The Premier also stated that the police have arrested the largest number of drug racketeers in history, and the bank accounts of the drug smugglers are also being investigated. He further stated that he has instructed for the law to be implemented against individuals engaged in fraudulent activities in the public service with evidence. He added that he has instructed that no government servant be arrested without evidence. The Premier stated that there is a difference between distributing the resources of the country and selling off resources of the country. He says that leasing out on a 99-year basis is similar to selling off. He says that this is what happened to the port, as after a lapse of 99 years, a further 99-year period has to be granted. He said that this is what happened to the port city as well, as the country will not receive revenue for 200 years. The Premier stated that funds granted for the Hambantota port are unaccounted for, and inquiries are underway to trace where the funds have been credited. The Premier pointed out that the President had requested for a maximum number of students to be enrolled to the Faculty of Medicine. He also said that the President had instructed for a maximum number of students to be enrolled to the Kotalavala Defence University as well. The Premier states that thereby a large number of young students will get the opportunity to enter universities in the country. The Premier states that if the President and the Prime Minister go in two directions, the country will not go forward. The Premier stated that the large group of UNP people are pledging support to his party and said that they must accept those supporters. The Titsamarama Central Elections Office of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was declared open at Devaravavu by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa today. A rally to ensure victory for the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was held at the Suryavavu area in Hambantota. Addressing the rally, the Premier stated that the fight to save Sirikota should be left with the UNP and the development of the country should be entrusted to him. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the opposition is fighting for Sirikota. The Premier states that one party is trying to defend Sirikota whilst one party is trying to conquer Sirikota. He requested the people to let the opposition fight for Sirikota and join hands with him to develop the country.
Leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, says the economy of the country will be uplifted with the signing of agreements with foreign nations and international organizations. The objective of the United National Party is to grant maximum concessions to the people. The UNP leader expressed these views at a rally held in the Avisavela area yesterday. Leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, noted that the requirement of the country is to have a government that can strengthen the household economy of families and sustain them. Elaborating further, the UNP leader stated that the necessary funding will be facilitated through negotiations and agreements with international organizations, including the International Monetary Fund and other friendly countries such as USA, China, India, Japan and European countries. He added that foreign exchange aid will be obtained as currently as a large deficit in foreign exchange and a deficit in revenue is observed. The UNP leader stated that he will put forward the methodology of obtaining funds. UNP leader Wickremesinghe stated that the United National Party can be defined as the party that restores the economy, but for that purpose, a UNP government needs to be formed, since it is only a UNP government that is always able to work with any party or party leader in Parliament. UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe concluded stating that the need is for a UNP government which will resolve the issues in the country.
National organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Basil Rajapaksa, states that his party always functions giving priority to the country. He made this comment addressing a rally of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna at Bulat Sinhala yesterday. Well, this rally was organized by the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna candidate Sanjeeva Edirimana, contesting from the Kalutara district. A group of UNP members obtained membership of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna at this rally. National organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Basil Rajapaksa, said that when handing in nominations, they took the decision on whether to go ahead with the election campaign or deliver the country from COVID-19 pandemic. He stated that they successfully faced the COVID-19 crisis and they decided to extend the cooperation to the president to save the country and its people from COVID-19 pandemic. He further stated that in order to protect the officials and party representatives involved in the elections process, discussions were carried out between the Elections Commission and health authorities. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the constitutional proposals of former opposition leader Sajith Premadas's manifesto are identical to the proposals of the draft constitution tabled in Parliament by UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe in early 2019. In the said draft constitution, an essential precondition to the division of the country is to remove from our constitution the phrase unitary state, which has a special technical meaning. The international community can then take note of the fact and act accordingly. Well, these aspects have been pointed out in a release issued bearing the signature of Premier Mahinda Rajapaksa today. The release states that former parliamentarian Sajid Premadas's manifesto replaces the word unitary with the formulation undivided and indivisible in describing Sri Lankan state. As noted in the release, the other proposals in former parliamentarian Sajid Premadas's manifesto are devolving the powers of the central government to the provinces to the maximum extent possible, creating a second chamber of parliament made up of provincial council representatives to further limit the powers of the central legislature, abolishing the executive and exclusive financial powers of parliament and allowing provincial councils to raise funds independently, placing the district secretaries and divisional secretaries under the purview of provincial councils, and setting up a separate constitutional council and court to adjudicate in disputes between the central government and the provincial councils. The release issued by the Premier states that the inclusion of constitutional proposals aimed at the division of the country in the manifesto of a major political party is a cause for grave concern. The release further states that the document was presented to the most venerable Mahanayaka Theras and Anunayaka Theras with a great deal of publicity, however, without giving them any prior warning about its contents. The Premier also observed that the Samagi Jana Balavegya is putting forward pledges such as an allowance of 20,000 rupees for every family. He observes that they tried to win the presidential election also with promises of various handouts. He further states that a political party that caters to a single ethnic or religious community only looks after the narrow interests of that group and considers their community to be outsiders or even enemies. The Premier states that the country's most recent experience of the dangerous consequences of this brand of politics was the Easter Sunday terrorist attack. He states that when a political party restricts itself to just one ethnic or religious group, they too become prisoners of circumstances. The release also notes that when the extremist preacher Zaharan Hashim built himself a small group of followers in the East, communal politics parties had to compete for votes of that group, and that in turn enabled extremists to summon all communal candidates for elections in that district and even impose conditions on them. In the release, the Premier also states that through this process, extremists controlled the communal political parties, and the communal political parties in turn controlled the national political party running the government. He added that ultimately, the extremists indirectly controlled the government. The release states that the Yahapalana government was not able to prevent the Easter Sunday bombings because they had fallen victim to this brand of politics. The Premier says that political leaders such as G.G. Ponnambalam, Alfred Dorayappa, A.C.S. Hamid, M.H. Mohammed, Badiuddin Mohammed and Alavi Maulana represented the Tamil or Muslim communities. The release states that the politics of trampling the majority community underfoot and obtaining privileges for one's own community through political extortion never existed at that time. It states that that's the very reason why this poisonous political culture has flourished up to this point, and is because those who engaged in politics have benefited enormously from it. The Premier states that the people defeated the brand of politics in the 2019 presidential election, and if the country is to see this kind of friendship and cooperation that existed between the various communities in this regard in times of past, they have to ensure that those who engaged in narrow-minded communal politics are not able to be benefited from it. He says that it is only then that the new generation of Ponnambalams, Dorayappas, Hamids and Maulanas will emerge from among the younger generation. The Premier requests the voters to give him an overwhelming mandate in order to put an end to this narrow-minded communalism in the politics of this country.
The Presidential Task Force appointed for the prevention of COVID-19 states that it was possible to successfully control the epidemic as a result of efficient measures taken by the government. The members of the task force expressed their views joining in the Sunday IVO1 program telecast over Rupavahini today. The discussion was centered on the task and the future steps on the part of the media in controlling COVID-19. Members of the Presidential Task Force on the Prevention of COVID-19 and the Sri Lanka Broadcasters Guild attended the discussion program with representatives of private media channels as well.
Our අපේ රටේ
Chairman of the Sri
ගරු
Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, Dr. Nihal Jayatilaka, who is a member of the Presidential Task Force on Prevention of COVID-19, said that through the COVID-19 Presidential Task Force, which comprised specialists, the President implemented a special plan in the country, and as a result of that plan, it was possible to control the number of COVID-19 contracted patients and deaths in the country. Focusing on the global situation, Dr. Jayatilaka pointed out that for 100,000 persons, 1,391 COVID-19 patients are detected. However, in Sri Lanka, for 100,000 persons of the population, only 96.4 cases have been detected. Therefore, Dr. Jayatilaka states that when comparing with the global situation, the situation in the country is at an improved level.
ජනතාව දසලක්ෂයකට ඉන්නවා රෝගීන් 8277ක්. ඒ වගේම ඉන්දියාව ගත්තොත් ජනතාව දසලක්ෂයකට රෝගීන්.
Welcome back after the break, and we continue with more local stories. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa engaged in religious observances at the Vihara Banda Kutiya and Tantirimale Rajamahawihare at Anuradhapura yesterday. Well, according to the epigraph records, the Vihara Banda Kutiya and Rajamahawihare was constructed by King Bhatya I during the 5th and the 6th centuries AD. The President, upon arriving at the Vihara this evening, met with the chief incumbent, Venerable Valisara Siri Jinawansatera, and obtained blessings. The President also engaged in cordial discussions with the residents of the area and the devotees who had observed Sil. The President also engaged in religious observances at the historic Tantirimale Rajamahawihare at Anuradhapura last evening, at which he performed an offering of herbs to the Ashtapala Bodhiya. Chief incumbent Venerable Tantirimale Chandratnatera blessed the President and commended the President's efforts to control COVID-19 virus. The Samadhi Buddha statue completed atop a rock at the Murukilgara Rajamahawihare was unveiled by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa yesterday. The Samadhi Buddha statue was assembled to mark the Prime Minister's completion of 50 years in politics. The statue, which is 8 feet in height, weighs 3,500 kilos and was transported atop of the rock in an Mi-17 aircraft of the Air Force. The Premier engaged in religious observances after unveiling the Buddha statue. The epistle on the declaring the Mulkarigara Rajamahawihare a sacred site was presented by the Prime Minister, the Chief Sanganayaka of the Hambantara Division, Venerable Beligalle Sarnapalathera. And back here at home, the Department of Government Information today confirmed that the COVID-19 contracted patient identified from Jindupeti area in Colombo 13 has tested negative for the virus. 5 PCR tests of the patient conducted after hospitalization have reportedly returned negative. Health authorities state that they are monitoring the case since this individual works as a Coast Guard and has returned from overseas recently. Thereby, during the self-quarantine period when PCR tests carried out on this station returned positive, all necessary measures were taken by the health and security units to hospitalize the patient. In addition, 154 individuals who had closely associated with this patient were sent to quarantine. However, after 5 successive PCR tests, it was proven that the patient has not contracted COVID-19. The 154 individuals who were sent to the Kandakadu Quarantine Center were also subjected to PCR tests. However, no COVID-19 positive cases were reported from amongst them. Director of Health Services Consultant Dr. Anil Jasinghe says that steps are taken to discharge the patients and the 154 individuals. Meanwhile, the epidemiology unit states that no COVID-19 positive cases have been reported today. And on that note, it's time to end the news. Do enjoy the rest of the programs. Take care and good night.
Good night.